So what are some of the risks and rewards about starting a bookkeeping business, and how do you decide, is it the right time for you to start? This is a question I got from one of you guys, and I thought it would be a really interesting video topic. Here's everything I'm gonna go over: who should start a bookkeeping business, what are the risks, how to reduce some of those risks, what is the right time to start, and how to start a business. Starting out with who should start a bookkeeping business, I phrase this in kind of like what ifs. And it kind of represents different type of people or different problems you might have with starting. So first one is, what if I don't have any money? I'd say in this case, it's okay to start a bookkeeping business then. It really doesn't cost that much money. I have a video on when I started, which it was like 10 years ago, but I think I started my business for like a couple $100s. Honestly, the business license will probably be the most expensive thing, and usually that's like $100. Sometimes you might want to pay for a bookkeeping course, and that can range a lot in price. It can be from a couple $100s to a couple $1,000s. I have some bookkeeping classes in my description box, and I will talk about that whole subject at the end when I talk about how to start a bookkeeping business. But I have a class that's $150 that helps you start your business in 30 days. And what if you aren't good at math? I think this is okay. You do not have to be great at math to be a bookkeeper. QuickBooks is the one who's like doing all the calculations, so you're not really doing math in your head. You do have to have a comfort with numbers, like you have to understand like kind of higher dollar amounts and numbers and kind of like their relationship. So, you know, if you like mix up numbers a lot and it feels confusing to you, that might be a sign that you shouldn't be a bookkeeper. But math in particular is not a big part of my bookkeeping job. I was fine at math, but it was one of my least favorite subjects. I really liked the writing type stuff. I was an English major in college, so you don't have to be great at math to be a bookkeeper. What if you aren't organized? This one I said maybe for, because I think being organized is pretty important in the bookkeeping role because you're helping organize someone else's finances. I'm a quite like organized type A person. I doubt that every single bookkeeper in the world like lists like super organized as one of their strengths. So you can probably do it in a variety of ways, but I do think being organized and being on top of things is fairly important. All right, and what if you don't have time? This one I said, no, you should not start a bookkeeping business. I think that is one of the pitfalls that people fall into. They're like, it's fairly easy to start, which is true. You can do it as a side hustle, but you do have to dedicate time to it. And that kind of goes hand in hand with the next one, which is, are you self-motivated? If you're just kind of like half-heartedly starting this business, I don't think that that will work out very well for you. You need to be self-motivated and be like, okay, I'm gonna make this work. Even when I encounter problems and different hardships, I'm gonna figure it out, I'm gonna get past it. And no one's gonna be there telling you the next step, so you have to figure that out yourself. And what if you don't work hard? I said, no, this is probably not the business for you. Similar to the other ones, you're gonna come up against something that is going to be friction for you, that's gonna feel really hard. So you need to be the type of person who's able to work through that. And what if this seems really hard? Should you start it? For this, I said maybe, because I think a lot of people feel like it's hard. Like if you feel like it's hard, you are not alone. But again, you need to have something inside yourself that is driving you to do it even when it's hard. What are the risks of starting a bookkeeping business? The good news is that compared to other types of businesses, the risk is pretty low for bookkeeping because, like I said, there's a pretty low startup cost. The main risk in my mind is you will be wasting your own time if you try it for 6 months and then decide not to do it. You're going to be wasting your own time setting up your business and then learning QuickBooks. Like learning QuickBooks is the thing that's going to take the most time when you're starting bookkeeping. And of course that's common kind of in any new job or endeavor that you do. There's probably like a program that you have to learn, a system, but bookkeeping is quite specialized. So you do have to get a grasp of bookkeeping and of how to be a bookkeeper. There's a little bit of a learning curve to getting clients and to running your business. So the biggest risk is wasted time. You might waste a bit of money. Like I said, it cost me a few $100s to start if you invest. So what I don't want you to do is, if you're on the fence, don't invest in a really expensive bookkeeping course and then decide halfway through that you are not going to, be a bookkeeper, because then you've wasted like $2,000. So if you're sure you want to do it, spend that money. If you're still kind of deciding, maybe you do a more DIY approach. So, take some of my cheaper classes, watch my free YouTube videos, do research on your own and kind of figure it out that way. The other risk is that you might be giving up a steady paycheck. So anytime you start a business, there's no guarantees. It's different different than working for someone else where you get paid every single month. So a lot of people, what they do is if they're working full time and they want to start bookkeeping, you wait until your bookkeeping business makes a certain dollar amount. And I think I have a video all about that. It is called Quit Your 9-to-5 Job, or like when to quit your 9-to-5 job. I think that should already be out by the time that you see this one. And the sun does keep going in and out of clouds, so sorry if the lighting keeps changing. My name is Morgan. If you don't know me, my website is FinePoints.biz, and I help bookkeepers get organized, start their businesses. Leave me a comment about where you're at in your bookkeeping business if you're trying to decide to start or what point you're at. So we talked about the risks. Now let's talk about how to mitigate, how to reduce some of those risks. And I kind of touched on those, so I'll go through these quick. But first of all, do not go into debt for a bookkeeping class. Be wise with what money you're spending and how much you're spending, which I bet you're going to do that anyway. Research the bookkeeping field ahead of time so you have a realistic idea of what it's like. So I have tons of videos on my channel about like a day in the life of a bookkeeper. So figure out, how is it going to feel when you have a bookkeeping business? Is that something you actually want? And it is okay if you're not 100% sure. I don't think I was 100% sure when I started. I was like, oh, I'll just do this for like a year or 2 years while I have little kids, and then I'll go back and work for someone else. But I ended up loving it so much that I stuck with bookkeeping. You can also kind of test the waters for free. So I have a video on this about should you work for free. So you can watch that video after this one. But ask around, see if there's like you have a friend who owns a small business, and be like, do you want me to do your bookkeeping for like 6 months for free just so I can like test it out? QuickBooks has a sample company you can work in that is totally free. Also, to reduce the risk, think about who's going to be your client. So I know a couple bookkeepers I've talked to that they actually have a client lined up even before they start. And I know that's kind of a luxury and you're probably jealous of that person. But sometimes, like if you're just a regular person and you talk to someone who needs a bookkeeper and you're like, okay, that sounds kind of interesting. I think I'm going to look into that. And then from that opportunity, you decide to start a whole bookkeeping business. So even if you're not in that situation, think about who's around you, who has small businesses, what businesses in your area do you like? What past experience do you have that you can apply to bookkeeping? And I bet once you get brainstorming, you are gonna find that you have an even bigger network than you think. And remember, you can be a bookkeeper remotely, so you can work for anyone in any state. So just from a risk standpoint, think about some of this before you start bookkeeping. And what is the right time to start bookkeeping? So I have a couple other videos on this that I'm gonna mention. First of all, I have one that talks all about AI, artificial intelligence, and how that is impacting the bookkeeping field. The short version is that the bookkeeping role is changing. It has changed in the 10 years I've been a bookkeeper. It will definitely change in the next 10 years, but I still think small business owners want a person to walk them through the process of using QuickBooks. Even no matter how good QuickBooks gets, small business owners, in my experience, are so busy and they have so many things pulling them in multiple directions that they want that hand-holding of a real person. And it's important enough for them when they go to pay their taxes that they want it done right. But if you want more about that, watch the video. It's called, Is It a Good Time to Start Bookkeeping with New AI Advances, or something like that. Also think about your season in life. So we talked about that earlier with the time. Do you have time? Is it a season where you can dedicate, 1 hour a day to bookkeeping? Me personally, I did it in the season where I had quit my full-time job and I had a 1-year-old. So I was able to work during her nap time. So think about your time of life. Also think about the time of year. So we know that taxes are due in April. And so a lot of people are looking for a bookkeeper at the beginning of the year because they're like, oh shoot, that deadline is fast approaching. I have not done my bookkeeping for the past year. So they're kind of scrambling to get someone. And that might not be the type of client you want. So you can think about that. That's a little more of a chaos job. But January, I think, is a good time to start a business. It's kind of like a clean start for your books. Your business license can start in January. People are looking for bookkeepers then. I'd say each time period of the year has kind of like a different vibe. So I think the early winter, January, February, is ramping up for finishing people's books. Summer is kind of a slowdown depending on the business. Fall, I read, is the most productive time for business owners. So I think we all just kind of get like a renewed vigor in the fall. I think it's, from probably our school year starting, and that is kind of ingrained in our minds. So think through all that if it's helpful to you. I think personally, maybe starting in the summer would be nice, starting slow, and then you really hit it hard in the fall, something like that. The other thing to think about is just time as a society. Is it a good time to start a work from home business? Yes, I think we're in one of the best times that we've ever seen to work from home. More and more people are working from home. We have tons of technology that allows us to communicate remotely really easily. All right, and how to start a bookkeeping business. This is basically like what my whole channel and my whole website is about. So I'm just gonna give you like 3 main places to start, and then definitely go to my website FinePoints.biz for a lot more resources. So number 1, you need to somehow learn QuickBooks. I recommend becoming a QuickBooks Online Pro Advisor, and I have a video all about that. You need to get the accountant version of QuickBooks. That's very important. And then they have a bunch of free resources to study, and then you take a test, and then you get a certification within QuickBooks. So that is free. It's a really good place to start. If you need help taking that class, there is a paid helping class from Margie, and I have a code for that. I have like a $20 off or something, and that is in my description box if you want help taking that test, if you have like test anxiety. But you don't need to take that class. There are totally free tutorials that prepare you for the test. Okay, so first one, become a QuickBooks Pro Advisor. Number 2, you actually have to figure out how to set up your business. So that's kind of what I specialize in. I have a free checklist that is how to start your bookkeeping business. So that again is in my description box and on my website, finepoints.biz. And then from that checklist, I also created a class. So that is a 30-day class, and you have 3 like action steps each week of the class. And so it just kind of handholds you a little bit more walking through your checklist. That's things like your business license, your LLC, setting up your website, all that kind of stuff. So Pro Advisor, Morgan's classes and free resources. And number 3 option is a larger, more comprehensive bookkeeper class. My favorite one, again, of course, is linked in the description. It's called Bookkeeper Launch. It does help me if you use my link because that's an affiliate link and I get credit for recommending it to you if you heard it from me. But the reason that I love this class is it's super duper 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 thorough. Like, it walks you through everything you could ever possibly want to know about bookkeeping. It has a helpline so you can ask questions if you run into problems with clients. It's just basically like a one-stop shop if you want to be a bookkeeper. But it's definitely an investment, so you want to think about it ahead of time and make sure that you're ready to commit. I hope that was helpful, and I will talk to you again next week with another bookkeeper video. Take care.